friends, Jewel back with you. Today I want to talk about natal Venus inconjunct to the ascendant. What happens when we see this interesting aspect? So people with this aspect really need beauty and love in their lives. They're really desperate for it. There is a seeking to connect to the world through pleasing and often conceding to others. The signs do make a difference with this particular aspect. If we have a rather quiet or cryptic Venus, that can really make a difference. Typically, this one, though, does show up as a lot of pleasing kinds of behaviors. So there's a compensation for the social and romantic awkwardness that they struggle with. That's really the basis of why these pleasing behaviors show up. Venus is really how we love. It's our style, the quality of our voice, how we behave socially, what makes us happy, what we want to spend our money on. And this is a huge component to our self-esteem. Venus is the original ruler of the second house of our income, our money, and our self-esteem. So it has a ton, again, to do with how we feel about ourselves. The ascendant is our outward behavior. It's the part of our personality that formed first alongside the descendant, and is all the things that we consciously think to be true about ourselves and the things we readily accept in our personas, and we put it out there to engage with other people because we think this is going to give us the best chance of success in the world. So when we have a planet that's inconjunct to the ascendant, it presents us with an issue. Because the outward behavior that we are used to exhibiting and the planet that is inconjunct to the ascendant sits back behind it in the back, they don't work together. So there's this either-or effect that ends up happening. The planet inconjunct expresses itself purely and undiluted from time to time. So we have the switch off kind of thing between the ascendant and the planet that's inconjunct. This throws people off at the ascendant. That's our typical behavior. Because people have seen a behavior that they're used to, that's the ascendant, and then they see one that's unlike what they usually see. So when we have a planet that's inconjunct, we can often be perceived as fickle or flighty, especially with an inconjunction from Venus or Jupiter or Neptune to the ascendant. We can be seen as sort of spontaneously controlling if it's like Pluto or Mars. Planets interject themselves into the inconjunct planets, interject themselves into the predictable rhythm of our outward behavior at the ascendant. So there's this melody that we are used to hearing. That's the ascendant. And we assume it's going to continue, but then bam, a different set of notes comes out of nowhere and jolts us out of our assumption. So us as the audience, we're bound to look around and wonder, what was that? And often the new notes, they're great, but they weren't what the audience was expecting. So the person who is playing the notes, this is the person who has the inconjunction. And when they play these new unexpected notes, they're doing it because that's what they think that the audience must want, what the outside world must want. So they end up playing something they think people want to hear, but then they see the reaction to this new music, this new pattern, this new interjection, and they will feel ashamed or insecure or embarrassed because the reaction wasn't what they thought they were going to get. So we end up with a situation where both the audience and the player are surprised by each other and consequently don't know what to expect from each other in the future. This up in the air kind of feeling, this is really, a feeling where we kind of don't know what might happen. And this can create an uncertainty and an insecurity in the person with this aspect. So, what do we do when we have a Venus inconjunct to the ascendant? The trick is to learn to play the notes in your time and in accordance with your own music. You don't change your music to please your audience. This is where you actually go wrong. It's your music. You must learn to play yourself. You must learn to be yourself. You must learn to play your own music. This inconjunction causes one to wear a perpetual mask. It's a thicker mask. We all have masks. But this one is particularly tight. And our masks, especially when it's a Venus mask, it's meant to keep us from being alone, to keep us from being unloved, or from being perceived as ugly or untalented. And it's a coping skill that was very much put into place very young, this particular inconjunction. And this coping skill worked at the time. It made sure that you were included at all costs. You were paid attention to and seen at all costs. Often we were a little performer when we were young. The cost is selling out your true wants. It's selling out what Venus is to you. So you disconnected early from your sense of beauty, grace, your happiness. If you're a female, your femininity. And you did this in order to give that away. You don't charge for your Venus with this particular inconjunction. And you've got to learn to charge the right amount of admission to your performance. And it should be a good price because you put on a damn good show. People with this aspect are fabulous singers. They are extremely talented. They have a wonderful eye for design and line and color, but they won't share it. They hide their talents because they are afraid of them being rejected or judged or misinterpreted. These are actually some of the most talented people among us. And that's what people with this inconjunction really need to get comfortable with. Venus becomes part of the shadow self when an inconjunct occurs to the ascendant, because it's either going to be in the 6th, the 7th, or the 8th, depending on what house system you're using and, if it's the 6th or 8th planet. We end up valuing others' opinions and their opinions or perceptions of our talents and our beauty. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to reconnect with our own worth and our own value and our own talents through those being accepted and then fed back to us. But the thing is you will never become enough. I know that's hard to hear, but that is the truth. You will never become enough to satisfy that need to be enough. It's not going to happen. You are enough. This is what you actually already are. You don't need to someday gain the approval of those that you see as more valuable or talented than yourself or richer than yourself. A lot of times we're really wanting to be a part of a rich crowd with this particular inconjunction. You need to recognize that you already have the skills and everything you need to do what you love, and then you can do it. You actually end up deriving your sense of satisfaction in life through how you feel with this aspect. Not by what we gain or what we own or what we become. A lot of the meaning that we get out of life comes through how we are able to authentically express ourselves at the ascendant there. You need to live a life where you can do what you love. If you can identify what your dream is, what your source of pleasure is, and if you can do it, you could actually be one of those people who gets to do what they love. That is a small percentage of people. Most people have jobs, not careers. You could end up living a life where money doesn't actually matter. You will get all you want because your mask has turned to an authentic expression. This is magnetic. This brings money and success and people to us. By quitting the fake performance of pleasing, stop being the court jester and become the star of the show, you could have what you really want. A life of beauty, music, art, expression, and love. So you've got a wealth of talent within you already. And it's known to you, but it needs to become known to others through allowing yourself to express it and doing it in time with your own music. So you need to develop your own tempo and stick to it. This is where the beauty really blossoms. You've got a lot to work with here. So, again, it needs to become yours. We don't need to give it away and then base your opinion on what you must be or how good you did on what the reaction was. It needs to be your art. So, art is risky. Expression is risky because true creativity really does put us in a place where we're standing out. And there's a fear of truly standing out, but God, they want it so bad with this particular inconjunction. And the destiny is to stand out. The destiny is to bring the fullness of these talents to bear with the behavior here. So it just comes out. And when you are performing, truly performing, being expressive, that means giving away what you want. Art is beautiful because it is an offering that we give. It is an offering that we give for free. And it is something that can actually change the trajectory of people's lives. So, you need to accept that you have what you need, but accept that also you have a role that is much more authentic than you're already playing. Figure out what that is. Sometimes we're totally disconnected from it with this inconjunction, especially if it's in the 8th house. If it's in the 6th, a lot of times we do know what that authentic expression is. We do know what Venus means to us. We do know what our talents are. But there's this, again, this fear of criticism in the 6th. And if it's coming from the 8, this fear of exposure and of rejection. So it's a very complex aspect, but it is one that can absolutely be dealt with. And again, the more you can allow yourself to perform the way that you want to, the more success you're going to have. So I hope this was helpful. And if it was, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com, Facebook, Instagram, and other social media at Truth and Aspect Astrology. And please find me on Patreon and support me over there so I can make more videos for you more often. And I'll be back super soon with more super cool videos. Bye-bye.